Good morning, everybody. My name is Katie, and I am one of the education specialists at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. Each day, we are bringing you a short live program focusing on some aspect of what we do at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. Today, I'm going to be talking about natural resources and why recycling is so important. If you have a question, feel free to type it into the comments. And in the meantime, please let me know where you're viewing us from today. So again, my name is Katie, and I'm an education specialist here at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. So first today, I am going to be giving you a little overview about what we do at the Solid Waste Authority, and then we are going to get into our recycling questions. So we have about 1.4 million people living here in Palm Beach County. That makes us the third largest county in the state of Florida in terms of population. Each person in our county produces about 12 pounds of solid waste per person per day. That is quite a bit. So if you think in total, that gives us about 17 million pounds of solid waste that we handle each and every day. We manage that in kind of a unique way. We have what are called transfer stations. The transfer stations are located throughout our county. There are 6 of them. The trucks that come around to the curb to pick up the garbage are not Solid Waste Authority trucks. They are private companies that we hire to pick up your garbage and recycling, and then they bring that to one of the 6 transfer stations that's closest to you. Then we put that material into bigger trucks and bring it to the Solid Waste Authority, which is located in West Palm Beach, Florida. We manage Palm Beach County's solid waste in 5 different ways. We have a recovered materials processing facility. That's where the recycling goes, all of that material in your blue and your yellow bins. We have our home chemical and recycling center. That's where your hazardous waste goes. We also have renewable energy facilities 1 and 2. So here in Palm Beach County, we take your garbage, burn it, and turn it into a renewable electricity source. We have been doing that since 1989. And our second facility was built in 2015. It's the cleanest, greenest waste to energy facility in all of North America. We also have a biosolids processing facility. That is where we take your number 2 and turn it into an eco-friendly fertilizer. The last resort for waste here in Palm Beach County is our landfill. We have 2 of them currently open, a Class 1 and a Class 3 landfill. Eventually, they'll be closed. Right now, we're looking at about 2053 until those landfills are full. So again, if you've just joined us, my name is Katie, and I am one of the education specialists here at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. Today, we're going to be talking about recycling, natural resources, and why it's so important that the things that go in the bin should be put there each and every time you use them. So, why is recycling so important? If there's anybody who has an idea, go ahead and type it in the chat box. I'll give you a few seconds. But why do you think a lot of people push the message of recycling? Why is that so important? There are lots of reasons that we recycle. One of them that a lot of people pick up on is pollution. We don't want to see litter around, right? It's ugly for one thing, but it's not good for the environment. It's not good for people. So we want to make sure that those items get put into the recycling bins that should go there. Another reason it's so important is that it saves space in our landfill. You heard me just say that our landfill has about until 2053 until it's full. Before that, we had until about 2020, which of course is this year. And that means that we extended the life of our landfill by about 30 years by building our new renewable energy facility and also by increasing our recycling. So, yes, saving resources is another reason that we want to make sure we recycle, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, all of the materials that we use are made or partially made from natural resources. What is a natural resource? They are raw materials that we use each and every day to fulfill our needs, our wants. Just about anything you're using at least has some part that's a natural resource. These can be renewable or non renewable. Those are kind of big words, but does anybody out there have a definition for renewable? What do you think it means to be renewable? Our resources can be renewable or non renewable. You might have heard it in terms of energy as well. I said we had a renewable energy facility, in fact, two of them here in Palm Beach County. So, renewable does mean that we can use it over and over again. And that means it can be replenished either through natural processes or through human processes. So we have things like solar energy, we have things like energy. Those are renewable sources, and we can use them over and over again. Some things can be replenished by human means, meaning animals or trees. And we'll get into more of those in just a little bit. So that means non renewable is the opposite, right? It is a limited amount. It takes millions of years to replenish those. In terms of like fossil fuels, if you've heard of coal, um, oil, those sorts of things, those are non renewable sources. We also have things that could never be replenished, things that came from things like stars exploding. Copper is an example. We can never replace that. So those are non-renewable resources, and we really need to be careful about how we use them. So the good thing about recycling or reusing is that it decreases the demand on these resources. It saves energy and reduces pollution. We have a dual stream system for recycling here in Palm Beach County. So you guys probably know, if you're joining us from Palm Beach County, that you have a blue and a yellow bin at home. So if you could give me some examples of what goes into your blue and your yellow bin. And for a hint, I've got some of those items in front of me here. So what should go into your blue or your yellow bin? To save the earth, yes, that's another good reason. What should go into that blue or your yellow bin? There's a reason, too, for those of you joining us from outside of Palm Beach County, that we have two bins. So, one of the reasons that we have two bins is to keep our paper products cleaner. Paper goes into your yellow bin, and we want to make sure that that paper stays nice and clean from any food waste or grease, anything like that, or any broken glass. If that stuff gets into our paper, we just can't recycle it. Yes, plastic bottles is a good example of something that should go into your blue bin. Also, steel and aluminum cans, milk cartons, and juice cartons, and glass. Good. So, we're going to talk about those natural resources. And I'm going to start out with something that should be pretty easy, right? Our newspaper. Let's see if we can get that glare away. So, newspaper goes in that yellow bin. And I'm pretty sure that you all know where this comes from, where newspaper comes from. It comes from trees, right? Trees are our natural resource for paper. It goes through a long process to be able to be turned into that paper. But the thing is about paper, it can be recycled, but it can't be recycled indefinitely. It can only be recycled a certain amount of times before those paper fibers wear out and they can't be recycled. And each time we make that recycled paper, new paper fiber has to be added in. But it's still better than creating paper originally completely 100% from new trees. Recycling paper requires 40% less energy than making new papers and creates 70% less water pollution than making completely 100% new paper. So the process is specially grown trees go to a paper mill. They take off all that bark. They chop up the logs into pieces called chips, and they turn it into a pulp. It's kind of wet and mushy. It gets cleaned and screened and maybe bleached, depending on what kind of paper it is. It gets drained over screens and then dried on rollers. So that's the whole process of making paper and recycled paper, how that gets together. And if you tune in to the future on the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County's channels, you will find out how to make your own recycled paper at home. And that's a pretty cool process. So we have our tree to start with. It gets turned into newspaper. Then you're done with the newspaper. And of course, you put it into your yellow bin, right? Eventually, it gets recycled and it might be turned into something really cool like some of you might know what this is. This is a Sminsel. It's a smelly pencil. Lots of kids love these, and they are made out of recycled newspapers. So, those are our paper products in our yellow bin. Those all get recycled into new objects. Up next, we're going to talk about glass jars. So a lot of people have these around. They're pickle jars maybe, or spaghetti sauce jars, and these go into your blue bin. What is our natural resource for glass? That one, a lot of people might not know. Glass comes from, let's see if you can see this, it's sand. Glass is made from sand that's heated up and then melted together. So that sand, you might think, well, there's always more sand, right? It just comes from the rocks, it wears down. It's a non-renewable resource. Unfortunately, we cannot make more sand in a reasonable amount of time. So it would take millions and millions of years for erosion to happen and to wear down the sand. And it's only certain types of sand that can be turned into glass. So when you have those glass jars, if it comes with a metal lid, we ask you take them off, but put them both into your blue bin. That glass is then going to be recycled and possibly turned into something like this sun catcher. So we can make art out of recycled glass. Up next is our steel can. You might get your vegetables or your soup in these. Steel comes from two different ores, two different rocks, and they are coal and hematite. So there's a big one in here and a little one in here. They're both very dark, and the coal is the darker one and the hematite is a little bit shiny if you see that in person. So the coal and the hematite are ores, they're rocks, so they are non-renewable resources. We can't make more of them. Once we run out, that's it. So we want to make sure we put our steel cans in our blue bin. And those steel cans can be recycled into many things, of course, like more steel cans. They can also be recycled into bigger things, things like trains. Now, this is just in a toy example here. I could not fit an entire train into this room, but we do have train parts that are made out of recycled steel. That is a non-renewable resource, like I said, so we want to make sure to continue to recycle those. Then we have our aluminum cans. You guys probably see these around quite a bit. Aluminum is pretty cool because it comes from an ore called bauxite. This is a white rock in here, and the biggest producer of bauxite is Australia. Australia has about 1/3 of the production of this bauxite ore. So we turn it into a powder called alumina, and then it is made into what we know as aluminum. Now, it takes a lot of bauxite to make aluminum. It takes 4 to 6 tons of bauxite just to make 1 ton of aluminum. So think how important it is that we continue to recycle these aluminum cans, because it takes so much of this natural resource that once again is non-renewable. The bauxite, we can't make any more of that. Once we run out, that's it. But one thing that's really cool about aluminum cans is that they can be recycled over and over and over again. They can be recycled indefinitely as long as you continue to put that into your recycling bin. And aluminum is the most abundant metal in the Earth's crust, meaning there's the most of any metals in the Earth's crust. So that's pretty cool too, but that doesn't mean it's unlimited. And once we recycle that, our aluminum can be turned into things like airplane parts. So we're going to use aluminum in airplanes because it needs to be lighter so they can get off the ground. But we can turn it into new cans, airplane parts, all sorts of different things for recycled aluminum. Finally, we have our plastic bottle. Plastic bottle comes from another resource here you might be familiar with. It's oil or petroleum. This is another non-renewable resource. Petroleum comes from fossil fuels, and we cannot make more of those within a reasonable time again. So we want to make sure we put our plastic bottles into that blue bin. Not all plastics can go into our blue bins, but bottles and containers that you would use for food and household goods like shampoo bottles, that sort of thing, can go into your blue bin. Now, what can we turn those into? Of course, we can make new plastic bottles. We can make really cool things like outdoor furniture and carpets, but we can also turn plastic bottles into materials. So this bag I've got here is made out of recycled plastic bottles. Many of your t-shirts, if they contain polyester, have some percentage of recycled materials in it as well. So out of all those things I had up here, only one of them was made out of a renewable resource, and that was our paper. Trees are the only things that we can continue to plant and um, harvest within our lifetimes and replace easily. But we have to make sure we manage those sustainably, that we continue to plant more of them. Everything else that goes into your bins comes from a non renewable resource. So, now that we've talked about renewable and non renewable resources, I want you to take a look around your house. What kind of resources are the items made of? Maybe what you use most. What is that made of? Could you use a non renewable resource item to replace? I'm sorry, could you use a renewable resource item to replace that non renewable one? And what kind of difference would it make? Is there another option? So think about, maybe you use plastic bags at the grocery store. What if you changed to using paper bags? What kind of effect would that have? We would probably cut down more trees, right, to replace those paper bags. So maybe there's another option. Maybe we can use reusable bags over and over again instead of using that one single use bag, whether it's renewable or non renewable. So, again, my name is Katie, and I'm one of the education specialists at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. Really want to thank everybody for joining us here today. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the comment section and I'll answer them. And if we don't get them to them today, I will make sure that we answer them for you. Tomorrow, we're going to be coming to you live with what we do with your home hazardous waste. So be sure to join us on Adobe Connect. I'll give you guys a few seconds. If you have any questions, type those into the comment box. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. We're really focusing on some different things around here in Palm Beach County that not a lot of people know about. So we'll see you then.